from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay.
I'm Betsy Gibbon. We see what USDA says about Ohio on paper, but we travel to the state to check out the crop ahead in the show.
I said I'd plant it July 1st, but I don't have ground fit yet.
Plus, trade negotiators say the U.S.-China deal is nearly done. All this rain may be hard on crops, but it's great for pastures and harnessing the power of plants for the perfect selfie.
AgDay, presented by the all-new Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. It's the last week of June, and we should be in the home stretch, or well past, when it comes to planting. But many farmers are having to mud in what they can or call it quits, especially in Ohio. AgDay's Betsy Gibbon traveled to the state to see what farmers are facing right now. Betsy.
Clinton, in USDA's crop progress report, Ohio was one of the furthest behind when it comes to corn and soybean planting. And when you visit the state, you can see why. This is the norm in Henry County, Ohio. Miles of fields with little to no crops. Farmers never imagined planters would still be parked.
Not unless I was cleaning it. No, I never thought it'd take this long. I mean, unreal.
Eric Klein is not done planting beans yet, hoping to get another field done soon.
Well, if you farm 50-50, you got the third party. A lot of our third partiers are retired people that don't carry insurance. And that's what I'm at today. I'm trying to get something for this lady that's retired.
But not all of his fields will get planted.
We're about a fourth to a third planted on beans. 0 corn acres. We didn't get a kernel of corn in the ground at all this year.
It's typical for Ohio growers. Both corn and soybean crops are behind planting progress according to USDA. And just 39% of the state's corn crop is rated good to excellent, and 30% of the bean crop. Klein waiting to work ground and put in a cover crop and prevent plant acres to potentially harvest later.
I will not leave an acre bare over summer. I don't believe in the sunlight on the ground.
Seed dealer Nate Like says others in the county are planting a cover crop on Ohio's black dirt soil.
Just trying to get guys some type of forage that we can plant that's more like a summer annual. Okay.
A farmer himself, he's calling it quits with planting on his own soil.
We farm about 750 acres with the father-in-law, and I think we got maybe 80 acres, 100 acres of corn planted, maybe 200 acres of beans. There's a lot of guys in this area that went and tried to plant silage corn. Some still are. We just don't know what the quality is going to be like.
Fields of little to no growth.
The weeds are actually starting to turn yellow because of the excess of water. I've never seen that in my lifetime.
Something farmers do not want to see into the fall. Reporting in Henry County, Ohio, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
All right, thanks, Betsy. Something that may help out some farmers in Ohio and other states hit hard by rain. USDA announcing silage corn will be eligible for planting on prevent plant acres.
That's a really big deal. That's a really, really big deal, actually. So as long as the crop's got to get mature, it's got to get going. We need some good heat, and you know, while we talked about in our excess rainfall, we're going to need some rain throughout the summer and some good growing degree, and it's to make sure this crop gets going.
It comes on the heels of USDA announcing the potential to harvest cover crops on September 1st instead of November 1st. 90% completed. That's how close Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said the trade deal was between the U.S. and China before negotiations broke down in May. Mnuchin making those comments in an interview with CNBC. He, along with U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer, will soon be heading to Osaka, Japan. They will help pave the way there for President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping to talk outside the G20 summit for 90 minutes on Saturday. Washington correspondent Jim Wiesmeyer telling us both sides are expected to have lists of disagreements and possible concessions. Mnuchin also telling CNBC there is a path to complete the trade deal, adding, quote, "I think this is going to be a very important G20." In China, African swine fever continues to spread across the country. Economists at the U.S. Meat Export Federation say pork prices in China are now at their highest levels since 2016. But there's still plenty of product left in freezers, which economists say has to move before China will start buying big supplies from other countries. Currently, U.S. pork headed into China faces a 62% tariff, putting the industry at a disadvantage to competitors. The USMEF says a trade resolution at the G20 could have serious impacts on future sales to China. Meanwhile, China announcing it is suspending all meat imports from Canada. It's over claims of forged customs documents. The Chinese embassy in Canada saying the decision had been sparked by the discovery of ractopamine residues in a batch of pork sent earlier this month. The embassy says another investigation found 188 forged veterinary certificates on exported meat products. In response, China called on the Canadian government to stop issuing those health certificates to meet this week, cutting off Canadian suppliers. Meanwhile, the U.S. is investigating price-fixing charges against the country's biggest poultry companies. The investigation was revealed after the Department of Justice requested a temporary halt to discovery proceedings in a 2016 class action lawsuit filed by food distributor Maplevale Farms. Now, Maplevale accuses Tyson Foods, Purdue Farms, and others of conspiring to fix poultry prices between 2008 and 2016. The suit claims the companies shared information and restricted supply by destroying breeder hens. The government said it wants a 6-month delay to protect an ongoing grand jury investigation. The case is one of nearly 40 filed by grocers, restaurants, and others against the poultry companies. While the extreme wet weather might have many wondering about climate change, a new study says almost the opposite. The study says North America, Latin America, and China are seeing overall increases or benefits of change in weather patterns to crop yields. The study, which even surprised the researchers, was conducted by the University of Minnesota's Institute on the Environment. The lead author telling Brownfield, quote, "Corn and soybeans have benefited from the climate change, but wheat and barley have seen a reduction in crop yields." But too much water continues to be an issue in many parts of farm country, as meteorologist Cindy Clausen shows us in today's Crop Comment. Cindy.
Well, Clinton, while some parts of the country are finally getting a much-needed break from the rain, the water remains. Brian Martin shared this video on Twitter saying, quote, "Still some extra water in the Missouri River bottom, to say the least." Now, Brian says he took this video on Highway 94 east of Jefferson City. Let's take a look at that wind forecast for today, and we're going to be seeing mainly the plain states and out in the west with the largest amount of wind as we get through the next 12 hours or so. Things die down quite a bit tonight, but we're still looking at maybe a complex over in the western lakes and into parts of the upper Midwest. And then as we head through Friday, we'll be watching pretty much the same areas, the plains and out in parts of the west, for some of those stronger winds. I'll have your national forecast coming up, but for now, here are some hometown temps.
Introducing Farm Journal TV, on demand 24/7. AgDay, Machinery Pete TV. U.S. Farm Report on your phone and tablet. Download the Farm Journal TV mobile app today.
Coming up, the strategy game, how planning this year may affect global decisions in 2020. We'll discuss coming up in analysis, and later, selfies aren't all the rage. We'll meet a plant trying to take its own pictures in the country.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
Grain prices sliding on Wednesday, even though USDA reported a 145,000 metric ton sale of soybeans to unknown destinations. Here's an update from the CME.
Soybeans were a little bit lower. There is some concern that the stocks may be really big when that report comes on Friday. And it looks like, that we may find 1 billion bushels of old crop just waiting around. That definitely is going to weigh very, very heavy on the market. And I think that as time goes by, everyone's getting a little bit nervous. Corn slipped a little bit today. Some uncertainty about Friday's report. It's got everyone a little bit nervous. No one really knows what these numbers are going to be. And as time passes, some of the traders get a little bit uncomfortable. You see the market moving, above and below the unchanged mark. Perhaps we've kind of topped out where we are right now from the big surge and rally in corn that we've seen. And weather definitely is going to play a role even for the next couple of days. Cattle was kind of firm. That beef beef demand is relatively strong, and this weekend could bring some activity in the cash market. You know, watch out because the market should creep up since it's been oversold and it's starting to kind of like move up and bounce. We're watching closely with the feeders because the feeders rebounded. They had solid buying off the lows that it hit yesterday. And, you know, we were talking about the market being oversold really for the past couple of days. And now the rebound's been pretty good.
Sam Hudson with Corn Belt Marketing, our guest. Sam, let's kind of put 2019 behind us because it's there's just so many unknowns this year. It seems like
it almost feels like it's already behind us.
I know, like we've been working on planning for 6 months, whatever. Let's talk about 2020 and kind of where we sit now and how that may drive some of these decisions into next year.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting aspects is that we've been sitting on so many bean supplies, and now with corn market rallying the way it has, one would assume that if we continue to appreciate the December corn spread, that we're going to come in here with 95, 96, you put a number on it, a million acres for next year for corn. The fact that we're getting this bean crop in late is one thing. Even if we do that, let's say we shave off 1 billion bushels, and I'm just throwing that out there. You cut off a few million acres and you take off some of this top end yield. Tell me where all the 80, 90, 100 bushel beans are going to be this year. I'm not saying there won't be any, but not in the masses that we've been seeing with the longer growing seasons that we've been in and amicable weather. Right. Even if we did that, you got to cut some demand along the way. You probably end up with a 500, 600 million bushel carryout, which still isn't bullish on paper. When you consider the fact that wheat and corn could rise in price for everyone around the world, look at how many acres have been shifted into soybeans over the last 2 or 3 years, due in part to the pricing, due in part to the trade war situation with the U.S. and China and those acres finding a different home. When you lose supply, the trade wars matter a lot less because when there's nothing to war over, what's the point? The tariffs are still there and everything. We're just the last person in line. But what's interesting is, ASF. I think this is a huge factor going into 2020 because if we reduce all these supplies in a dramatic way at a time where demand had just been throttled, by the time we realize what that actual final outcome is, what if ASF is fixed by next spring? When can we start sprinkling that demand back in? And will we have time to produce another crop before then? So when you get out to 2020, don't fall asleep at the wheel there. If you're out there pricing, my suggestion would be start looking at locking in your inputs, because if you go out there, lock in corn thinking there's going to be a huge acreage number and beans start to rally for next year, the corn is not going to be able to stay down and you're going to be defending that for a long time.
Yeah, all right. Well, it's something to watch, so many unknowns, but starting to think about 2020. Appreciate it, Sam. Thanks so much. We'll be back with more AgDay in just a minute.
For marketing advice, call Sam Hudson with Corn Belt Marketing at 800-655-3380. The IBM Watson Decision Platform for Agriculture, helping to feed a hungry world with the power of AI.
Welcome back to AgDay. Your meteorologist, Cindy Clausen. Cindy, not a lot on the map as far as fronts go, but rain's still possible.
Oh, absolutely. And it looks fairly quiet when you look at the forecast model for this morning, but things do change as we head into the afternoon. We're really warming up and we have plenty of humidity going on, lots of moisture to work with in the south central, southeastern United States, and even up along our frontal boundary that's draped across much of the north part of the United States. Now, as we head through the day, we're going to see perhaps some complexes of showers and thunderstorms, but you can see kind of more scattered activity in the southeast, just kind of these showers and thunderstorms that bubble up with the heating of the day and with all of that moisture available. We'll see more organized showers and thunderstorms closer to our frontal boundary. So you can see here our model is showing some activity up into parts of Wisconsin, heading into parts of Michigan, down towards Iowa, kind of spreading off to the east as we get into the overnight hours. Does show another complex down towards the boot heel of Missouri as well. Heading through the day on Friday, kind of the same thing. We see the moisture bubbling up in that heat and humidity, and you can see some more organization, especially in the late afternoon and the evening hours along our frontal boundary. Here's the estimate over the past 24 hours, and a lot of it's been down in the southeastern Missouri, southern Illinois area, southern Florida having had a lot of rain. Again, this is just an estimate from our model. As you add on the next 24 hours, some of those same areas, but you can see that complex that our model was picking up on in parts of the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes as well. As far as temperatures, still really warm in the nation's midsection. Again, you add that humidity and it is going to be starting to feel really very almost oppressive out there when you have all that moisture in there. The cool spot, still remains in the northwest, as if you're a trough there. In the overnight hours we go, and we're going to see very mild temperatures, very warm right here in the nation's midsection. A low of only 77 in Omaha doesn't give you a whole lot of relief at night. The cool temperatures again remain in the northwest and in the far northeast. Now, as we head into tomorrow, we're going to see those temperatures topping off, maybe slightly cooler in parts of the nation's midsection, but it all depends on cloud cover and any showers that might pop up in your area. Jet stream still shows that trough over the northwestern United States, but just about everybody else is going to be under a fairly strong ridge, and that's going to really bring on the heat as we head into this weekend. Another weak trough in parts of the northeast, and we'll see yet another one, a weaker one, coming into the northwest as we get into the middle and latter part of next week. That's your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Browning, Montana, showers and thunderstorms possible for you today with a high of 67 degrees. Blue Jacket, Oklahoma, mostly sunny and hot with a high of 89 degrees. And White Pigeon, Michigan, showers and thunderstorms possible.
You've heard of goat yoga? Now there's cow cuddles. Yep, it's a thing. We have details coming up next. Plus the good news, bad news about higher grain prices and the impact on the cattle industry.
Plan for the unexpected with weather forecast updates. Local forecasts are delivered right to your cell phone each morning, making planning a little bit easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
Drover's Report is sponsored by Corteva Agriscience, Agriculture Division of Dow DuPont, your partner in range and pasture productivity.
Grain prices have been on an impressive run lately, and while that may be good news for grain farmers, it means higher feed costs for cattle producers. Drover says those higher prices will also have an impact on pork, poultry, and beef production. It could possibly be an advantage for cow-calf producers, especially those who have a forage program. That's because all that rain we've had will make a lot of grass, forage, and hay.
Encourage producers, cow-calf producers, to precondition their calves, put them in a backgrounding program, and take them to heavier weights than they would normally sell them. That's because cattle feeders are going to want to feed cattle for a shorter period of time and utilize less grain, less of that expensive grain. So they're going to be bidding more for heavier feeders, and that could be a premium for those heavier calves this fall, especially ones that are older, more mature, and have better health backgrounds.
Drover said higher feed prices could impact the cattle industry for several years, especially since we're entering the liquidation phase of the cattle cycle. It could speed that cycle up, which, if it does, could lead to a short supply of cattle. Move over goat yoga. Cows are the new trendy comfort animal. One business is banking on cow cuddling becoming a thing. Mountain Horse Farms in Naples, New York has a horse and cow experience. Now it allows visitors to cuddle and spend quality time with the farm's cows and miniature horses. Sessions, they start at $75 for two people. The farm's website says the cows are a crossbreed of Scottish Highlanders and they sport long, shaggy coats and a friendly character. But the website says it can't guarantee the cows will be lying down for all those cuddles. All right, so how many selfies are on your phone right now? Why researchers are trying to get just one selfie out of this plant. Next.
In the Country is powered by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll.
Here's an interesting idea, a plant that can take its own selfie. Conservationists at London Zoo are harnessing plant power in an effort to do just that. Meet Pete. It's a maidenhair fern that's working up the energy to snap its first selfie photograph, all in the name of science. Conservationists at the Zoological Society of London started the trial that could result in what's thought to be the world's first plant selfie. When the maidenhair fern photosynthesizes, it produces sugars that enter the soil and are then broken down by bacteria. This generates energy. That energy is then harnessed by 4 nearby microbial fuel cells Unlike solar power, the cells can be used under dense forest canopies and help record all kinds of data from plant growth to temperature and humidity. Conservationists hope the technology could be a key tool in the fight against declining biodiversity. Last month, a UN report says that species loss is accelerating to a rate tens of hundreds of times faster than in the past, possibly due to humans.
Imagine we can power our computers and our electronics in rainforests using plants. We hope to embed quite a few sensors in the canopy to detect things such as UV levels, which is important to see how amphibians are surviving in rainforests today. Or take photographs, so we can watch rainforests regenerate, we can watch plants change over time, and it's really important for us to harness this new renewable source in these really remote locations.
Pete's not yet worked up the energy for this first selfie just yet. The experiment started last week, and researchers say they hope Pete will begin snapping in about 2 weeks. All right, that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. It's been part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.